So let's add attacking to our granny. Alright, scroll down right after the chase player. Now create another method by the name of attack player. In here, we don't want the granny to attack every second. Okay, we want to pause for a while and then allow the granny to attack. So that is the reason why we created this attack cooldown. So like after every 1 second break, the granny will attack. Alright, you can make it 2 or 3 if you want, but I'm gonna just leave it on 1. And now right here we will say time.time if that is greater than the last attack time plus the attack cooldown, then we want to attack. So in order to attack the player, right here we will make a reference to the player controller script. So type player controller, name it as player controller as well, and then we're gonna say player dot get component, and we want to get the player controller script component. Alright, this is the player reference right here, the player transform reference. Okay, from that we take the player controller script. Then we say if player controller is not null, then what we want to do, we want to damage the player. But as you know that right now we don't have any health on our player, so we just gonna say debug.log attack player. Alright, after the attack we will make the last attack time equals to time dot time. Alright, and then when the granny attacks and kill the player, after that we want to move the granny back to the start position, and we will also be respawning the player as well. Alright, so right here we're gonna respawn the granny at start position, and the reason we will be doing that is because if the granny doesn't move to the start position and the player respawn in the basement again, then you know that the granny will instantly attack the player again and again. Alright, so that's why we need to respawn the granny at the start position whenever it attack the player. Alright, and in the previous video, as you know that the granny, once the granny make up to the player, the granny then just stop. Alright, and we don't want that. We want that when the player moves away from the granny, we want the granny to still chase the player. We don't want the granny to stop. So for that, right here we will say float distance to player equals to vector3 dot distance. Right here type the player position, then the granny position, and then the player position. Alright, and after that we're gonna check that if the distance to player is greater than the attack range. If this is the case, then we don't want the nav mesh to stop. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just copy this from here and paste it in here, and instead of true I'm gonna say false, and right here set the is chasing to true and the is attacking to false. Alright, let's save the script. If we scroll up in the update method right here, what we're gonna do is right after the if condition we're gonna add a else if again, and in this one we're gonna say if this attacking gets true, then call the attack player method. Now if we go ahead and play the game, you will notice that every error will be solved. Alright, if you don't drop anything, you will notice the granny will still chase the player because we are in the deduction radius. As you can see, the granny can chase us and attack the player. If you notice, it shows attack after every 1 second, and if you move away now, the granny can still chase us, as you can see, and attack us. Alright, so you notice at the start that when we didn't drop anything, the granny still deduct the player. We don't want that. We only want the granny to deduct the player when the player make any disturbance. Alright, so in order to fix this, what we're gonna do is right here we're gonna create a bool by the name of sound heard, or on sound heard. Let's just make it sound heard. Alright, this will be false by default. And when any sound is heard, so right here we're gonna make sound heard equals to true, and then when the player is returning right here after 10 seconds we're gonna make it false. Okay, and then right here in the chase we're gonna say and sound heard. So if the sound heard is true, then and the player is in chasing, then the granny will only chase the player, and if the sound isn't heard, it is false, then it will not chase the player. Let's go ahead and play the game, and you will notice that the granny will not chase us now anymore. As you can see, the granny is in the room. If you try and peek, as you can see, there it is, there is the granny. Right, and now if we get back right here and pick this up and now drop it, now you will notice the granny will get down to the sound location and chase the player as well. As you can see, there is the granny. Right, the granny can attack the player and can chase the player. Whoops. Alright, so everything works perfectly fine now. Okay, and in the next video we're gonna work on the granny animations. So see you guys in the next one.